Hi, everyone. My name is Beth Coomer, and I am one of Impact 100's Director of Grants. And before we get started on our presentation, I would like to let you know that we are offering live transcription of this event, if you're having difficulty hearing it, and also we are recording this program. We will post the recording along with today's PowerPoint slides on the Impact 100 Greater Milwaukee website and on our YouTube channel. And finally, we will take questions at the end of our presentation, but feel free to submit questions in the chat as you have already started doing, and we will be monitoring that as well. Our information session today will cover a lot of important details, including an overview of Impact 100's model and how nonprofits benefit from it that Stacy started for us, a review of our eligibility requirements and funding practices, a description of Impact 100's grant committees and focus area overview and ranking, important dates for you to note, the grant application with instructions and tips about creating an account and navigating our portal and email communication with our grant platform. And one of our 2022 grant recipients is here to speak with you about their Impact 100 experience. Lastly, we will take any questions you have, and we plan on accomplishing all of this in under an hour, so let's go. As Stacy mentioned, Impact 100 is a successful model. It's a global philanthropy model that was created by Wendy Steele in 2001 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Her concept is simple and powerful. Gather at least 100 women who each donate $1,000 with the goal of significantly impacting one local organization. There are now more than 60 Impact 100 chapters around the world, and by the end of 2021, they have given more than $105 million in grants to worthy nonprofits in their local communities. In the past 7 years, Impact 100 Greater Milwaukee has alone contributed $2.4 million in impactful grants. Our grant application process is very structured, transparent, and open. Impact 100 members have the opportunity to assess the grant applications and ultimately vote on the grant recipients. And now to share more information, I'd like to introduce you to Ann Shoemaker, my co-director of grants.
Thanks, Beth. And thank you, all of you, for joining us this morning. Along with other members of our grant team, we are really excited to launch this year's grant cycle. So to get things started, please take a look at these 5 items: a teaching greenhouse, certified peer specialists, a robust rainwater system, classrooms and a resource center, renovation and expansion of an existing farmhouse. While these might not seem to have much in common, from our perspective, they really do. Because they were all funded by Impact 100 Greater Milwaukee. We have helped organizations build capacity, launch pilot programs, build infrastructure, expand existing programs, and make capital improvements. We fund different projects and programs for many different reasons, but the most important thing they all have in common, they make sense to the organization. They also have a lasting and significant impact on the people served. So the teaching greenhouse allowed Teens Grow Greens to build a new 2,100 square foot teaching greenhouse as a permanent home for the expansion of their youth experiential learning programs in STEM and agriculture. It also provided year-round opportunity for their interns and apprentices to hone their skills in growing, cooking, selling, and distributing healthy foods, and teaching what they've learned. The Certified Peer Specialist Training Program was developed by Benedict Center to assist women in their reentry into the community. These certified peer specialists are people who themselves have successfully transitioned back to the community after incarceration. They are specially trained and act as coaches and accelerators to provide support as women seek to complete treatment and aim to achieve higher levels of independence through education, employment, and stable housing. The rainwater system provided a state-of-the-art infrastructure for Victory Gardens Initiative 1.5 acre urban farm. Our grant dollars allowed them to make their farm a gathering ground accessible to all and to support the urban farm campus by installing a more robust rainwater system. Impact 100 grant dollars gave them the ability to upgrade their sustainable systems with a solar pump, cisterns, and a catchment system, installing ADA compliant access and contracting the professionals needed to make this happen. Impact 100 grant dollars also funded 2 years of stipends for interns and other youth education programs, community classes, and an annual community-wide blitz to provide raised bed gardens for residents throughout the city. We provided $100,000 to Hope Street to contribute toward construction costs and fund the materials, furnishings, equipment, and supplies for 2 classrooms and a resource center within the Shechem at Hope Street Community Center. Adjacent to Hope Street's apartment building, the center provides after-school programming for students grades 1 through 12 from the 10 schools located within 1 mile of Hope Street. Additionally, the spaces are used in off hours for adult classes and workshops and are open to organizations in the nearby neighborhood. The remaining part of a renovation and expansion project of their existing farmhouse was a capital improvement for Advocates of Ozaki, a domestic abuse shelter for women and their children. This project also included demolition and construction of a new playground, creation and furnishings for a children's computer center, a lower level exercise room and dog kennel, upgraded security, and temporary housing for clients during the construction. I hope this gives you a brief overview of a few of the projects and programs we have recently funded, so you can begin thinking about what makes sense to your organization. And now I'm happy to introduce Jill Boyle, who our financial review chair, and she'll talk about our eligibility requirements.
Good morning, everyone. My first reminder is just to please mute yourself if you are not the presenter. That just helps with our background noise. Thank you. So good morning, everybody. I'm Jill Boyle, and I do lead our financial review committee this year. And the task of this committee really is to do a comprehensive review of all of the organizations that complete an LOI with us. And we do have one member of my committee on each of the grant committees, and they just really serve as sort of that financial person when any of those types of questions come up. So we really are doing the financial due diligence for all of the applicants. So who do we fund? We fund 501c3 organizations only, so no other type of tax exempt organization, just a 501c3. That you must operate in Milwaukee, Ozaki, Washington, or Waukesha County. And in addition to that, obviously the program or project that you are funding would benefit people living in those areas as well. The annual revenue I really want to highlight here, it is highlighted in yellow specifically as well. We did make a change to this for this year. It's really the only change of the information I'm going over for this year, but we are increasing our top revenue number. So for this grant cycle, annual revenue between 300,000, which is unchanged, and 7 million. So that we raised from a previous $5 million number there. So that is really important to note that we made that change this year for various reasons. And hopefully we get to include a lot more other great organizations in our LOI process. So that is for the 3 most recent years. And that number specifically comes from line 12 of the IRS Form 990 that was filed for the organization. And so for this year, that would be your 2019, 2020, 2021. And all of those years must fall within those parameters. And the last bullet here, you just must have filed the 990. There could be reasons some don't have to, but for our purposes, you must have filed the 990 to qualify. So the next piece is we must have 3 years of independently prepared financial statements, and that could be an audit or a review by an outside CPA firm. We do require that. And then also having current licenses with the Wisconsin Department of Financial Institutions. You may be aware there's 2 different types. One is just a corporate registration that you file each year, and the second is a charitable solicitation requirement. The state of Wisconsin does regulate who is soliciting in the state of Wisconsin. And so that license also must be current, and you can actually look on the Department of Financial Institutions to double check that for your organization prior to submitting. Submit only one letter of inquiry each year per organization. And if you have previously received one of our full $100,000 grants, you can reapply after 3 full grant years. If the organization received one of our merit grants in the past, you can reapply immediately in the next grant cycle. So no limitations there for the merit winners. And then we also have an expectation that you would expend the full grant amount within 24 months of receiving the award. Next slide. So what do we not fund? We are not funding general operating expenses or debt reduction, deficits, any type of interim funding or legal expenses. That would not be included in what we are selecting. We don't do annual appeals or fundraising events, or really any general type capital campaigns. We really are looking just for a specific project or program, not individuals or private foundations, obviously. And then no political or legislative type activities, and also no religious type activities where they would be benefiting just the members of the religious organization. So we really are looking to fund a project or program that has measurable goals and that, can be ongoing. So that is what we do fund, obviously. So one other question that we get frequently is, what about a collaboration? We have some really exciting new collaboration. We want to work with a different organization that maybe we haven't worked with in the past. Yes, that is allowed. We would just want to say, obviously, only if it makes sense. So maybe you're looking to start a new program that some other established organization already has, and you're going to work together to do this. We certainly invite that. So it's, maybe it lowers the cost of, the filing organization growing this program themselves or recreating the wheel. Or it could increase gains for those served, right? So maybe you're going to reach a new population through this collaboration. So obviously, when you are collaborating, we want to make sure that it's really obvious that your missions are aligning, you're trying to achieve a common goal, again, that it really makes sense to do this collaboration. And it could change the way you do business. It could change, it could be a long-term change that this sort of creates. So you can be creative with that. The one important piece here is that the collaborating nonprofit, so the person, the organization that's filing the LOI does have to meet all of the eligibility requirements that we just went through. So the LOI would still have to be with an organization that fits all of that. The collaborating nonprofit has to meet those with the exception of the annual revenue size. So they could be a really small or a larger organization that could be the collaborating organization. So hopefully I was able to cover some of those requirements. Again, there's really nothing changing this year except for that top line revenue number, which we are increasing to 7 million in hopes that we can get some new exciting organizations that now qualify for the LOI. So, our hope really is that every LOI that you submit can make it through our process and into our grant committees to be vetted there. So if you do have questions up front about, whether you qualify, you can certainly reach out. So now I'll turn it back to Beth.
Yeah, so Jill brought up our grant committees, and each year our members do have the opportunity to join and serve on a grant committee. In order to be eligible, our members must complete a conflict of interest form and attend a training session. This assures that our review process is consistent. Our committees seriously review and assess your applications. Our committees are comprised of members with a wide and diverse knowledge base. So even if someone serves on the same committee 2 years in a row, there is always a blend of new and different members, plus new grant applications. The bottom line is that every year is a new and different grant year. Impact 100 offers 5 different focus areas following the original Impact 100 model designed by Wendy Steele. Each applicant will rank their project 1 through 5, with 1 being the best fit, in the following focus areas: arts and culture, education, environment and revitalization, family, and health and wellness. In 2022, 100% of our applicants received either their first or second ranked focus area. Organizations are placed in a focus area based on a number of factors. Your organization's choice, conflict of interest with a committee member of your first choice, and the fact that we equally divide LOIs between all focus areas. Anne will now discuss the grant review process.
This slide illustrates our grant process, beginning with letters of inquiry and progressing to our grant committee selection of our 5 finalists. Each year, we receive between 50 and 70 LOIs. The grant committees request about half of those to submit a full proposal. After the full proposal review, grant committees will go to about 15 organizations for site visits. At the last committee meeting, members select 1 finalist. So we choose 1 finalist from each focus area. Earlier, Beth described the way we distribute grants. For every 100 members, we award a $100,000 grant. So last year we had 405 members and 5 finalists. 4 organizations received a $100,000 grant. The remaining organization received what we call a merit award. In last year's case, that finalist was given $5,000. This money does not need to be spent on the project or program presented to us. In addition, if you are a merit award recipient, you may apply again next year. The merit money does change every grant year depending on our membership numbers. What makes our process unique is that even if you don't make it to our finalist stage, there are benefits. Our members on the grant committees have learned about your organization through this process. They have invested their time and energy to understand your nonprofit's mission. Going into our 8th funding year, we are still learning from our applicant organizations and developing a deeper understanding of many issues in Greater Milwaukee and the possible solutions to those issues. We appreciate you and value the work you are doing and honestly wish we could fund all of you. Here are some important dates. You will find all these on our website. The one we would like you to pay special attention to is the December 6th noon deadline for our LOI. Once you submit the LOI, we do a pretty good job of keeping you informed about deadlines as you and your organization move through the process. And now I'd like to introduce Nancy Remar-Smith, our grant platform chair, who will take you through the application process.
All right, thank you, Anne. All right, how to apply? Go to the Impact100 MKE website and click on Apply at the top of the page. You can review eligibility requirements here and also find a recording of today's session. Once you are on the Apply page, scroll down and click on the blue Apply for an Impact Grant button, which will take you to the grant portal login screen. You'll see that in the gray box on the right of this page are instructions and tips for creating an account or logging in if you are a returning applicant. If you think someone has already created an account for your organization and you don't know the login information, please reach out to us at grants@impact100mke.org so we can add you to the account. This email address is provided in the gray box. Also in the gray box are links to videos that can help you with logging on and navigating the portal. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to us at the same address, the grants@impact100mke.org. We are here to assist you. We want to point out one feature of the grant portal. Once you start an application, you'll see a Collaborate button in the upper right-hand corner of the LOI form. The Collaborate button allows applicants to work together with other staff members within your organization. The button is used to invite others to work on the LOI. For example, the Collaborate button can be used if multiple individuals are working together on responses to questions, or you're having someone upload documents. Please note that this feature is not related to the question in the LOI asking whether the proposed project is a collaboration with another nonprofit organization. Jill defined a collaborative relationship earlier. The definition can also be found in the frequently asked questions on our website. Communication. We will periodically send out status updates, which come directly from our grant platform, which is this address listed here, administrator@grantinterface.com. So keep an eye out for that. Email communications are sent to the email address you provided when registering for the online application. We will notify applicants at each stage of the grant process by email sent through the grant platform. If you need to reach us, please email us at the grants@impact100mke.org email address. Please do not contact any Impact 100 Greater Milwaukee members directly. We want to make sure that all nonprofits receive the same messaging and that we adhere to our confidentiality guidelines during the grant evaluation process. A couple of final notes. You could begin your LOI and return to it later by clicking on the Save LOI button at the bottom of the application. We advise you not to wait until the last minute to complete your LOI in order to give yourself time in case any issues arise. Again, we are here to help you if there are any issues, but we cannot extend the deadline. And finally, when uploading documents, please make special note of the document size limitations. If your document is larger than the maximum file size allowed, you will need to reduce the size before uploading. Our platform does not allow us to make exceptions. We look forward to receiving your letter of inquiry. And now I'd like to turn it back to Ann.
Thank you, Nancy. So here are some simple tips. If you haven't already done so, please take a look at our website. You'll find everything we've talked about on that site. Understand Impact 100 Milwaukee. Our members serve on our grant committees, and we have a robust grant process where we do our due diligence and do not compromise. You know it, now tell us. Clearly communicate your program or project need, and please don't assume you know the issue. Keep it real, keep it realistic. Make your plan feasible and true to your organization. It should make sense to your organization. Don't wait until the last minute to complete your LOI. As Nancy just shared, we have a tight timeline and we cannot honor applications submitted after noon on December 6th. And now I would like to welcome Jean Gerasi, Executive Director of Benedict Center. Benedict Center was awarded an Impact 100 grant in 2017 and then again last year. So they are the second two-time grant award recipient. Welcome, Jean.
Thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me. This is a great group of people. I recognize many names from the community. So as stated before, I'm the Executive Director of the Benedict Center, and our project that was just awarded is the Peer Specialist project that was referenced earlier. So it's allowing us to hire our first two peer specialists for the Benedict Center to help women impacted by the criminal justice system engage and progress in recovery, and then go beyond to employment, education, and housing stability. For those of you who may not know, certified peer specialist is a relatively new profession in some ways, and is a really exciting way for people with lived experience to be able to begin a professional career and really use that lived experience to help others be successful in their journey. So I wanted to share what it was like for us to fill out the letter of inquiry, or how we approached it. And the reality is, it really took us a number of meetings and brainstorming sessions, and needing to kind of work on it and then take a break and then come back to it, because we knew that we needed a very specific kind of idea. This isn't the kind of grant that you write for general operating or for a specific program. just running as is, but you really want to look for something very specific that's going to leverage a lot of capacity, but also have some sustainability. I would recommend, if you have a strategic plan, or maybe just keep throughout your the year a bucket list, a dream list, if you will, of ideas that might come up from clients or staff. But I think the LOI itself, it's not actually all that long, which could be more challenging, but it will really force you to make sure that you have a good, solid idea and you're not lost in the details of explaining it. You have a very short piece to really say, how is this serving a gap in the community? How is it meeting a need in the community? Not just a need for your program, but a need for people in the community. And very key, how will it be sustainable? Because this is a one-time investment. So I think they had asked me, the organizers of today's event, to share what it's been like to be a two-time recipient and how maybe we've used that experience to hone our application process, or how things maybe have evolved for us from one to the next. And actually I want to share that we're a two-time grant recipient, but we're actually a three-time applicant, which means the very first time that we applied, we didn't get it. We got as far as the site visit process. And I think that that probably was our biggest learning, because we did apply pretty much presenting our program, our sister's program, and not really identifying a very key kind of leverage that was going to increase our capacity. And one of the first grant recipients, I think, was doing some dental care, and they got funding for a dentist chair that was going to allow them to serve so many more, I think, children it was. But our board president had paid attention to that, and when we didn't make it in that first process, he said, I think we have to figure out what our dentist chair is. And we've really kind of used that question ever since. Like, what's our dentist chair? What is a one-time investment that could really spring things forward, but also last? And so, a physical investment, something like a chair, that will last for many years. And so our next application was for a street outreach vehicle for our street outreach program. So, and we're still running that, we're still driving that vehicle, and it's still holding up very well for us. So, and I think a lot of applicants have asked for physical things because those can last. So this time around, I was a bit more challenged to think about something, because we didn't have a specific physical need or investment, but don't be stuck there. That you can actually apply to fund positions. It's just that it still has to be designed in a way that will be sustainable and really show how you're going to increase the capacity to be able to serve people in your mission. Advice and things that we've learned along the way is to be prepared for much higher levels of engagement with the members of Impact 100 than your average foundation. This is not a typical foundation. This is a membership organization, and there is more time investment involved, but also the members are putting in a lot of time and a lot of work as well. And so it's really not just about having the opportunity to have a grant. It's really this opportunity to build relationships with a few hundred women who are interested in helping the community and all have the capacity to donate at least $1,000. So it's really a rich opportunity to connect with a broader set of people than you might otherwise. And so I think if you think about this as relationship building and the opportunity to get your story out there, you'll find that the application process really is kind of a reward in of itself, even if you don't make it the first time. I would say be prepared for a meaningful site visit if you do make it that far. So be sure to have staff or beneficiaries of the grant and perhaps one or two board members. The committee that comes has read things very thoroughly. They have a lot of really good questions, and really appreciate, I think, hearing answers from different perspectives from your agency, not just the grant writer, not just the executive director. Something I've learned is that the members are very open-minded and they're open to learn, and they're not, they won't shy away from tough or complex issues, but you do have to be able to explain it in a pretty concise way. And then I would also add that what I've noticed over the years is that Impact 100 has also grown and evolved. So it's not always the exact same process. And to me, it's very exciting that there's even more members, and that means even more gifts for the community. And then sometimes some things have changed along the way. For instance, there's a presentation if you make it as a finalist, and they hired a coach to help us prepare that. And I would recommend it. Just take full advantage of every support and resource that they provide. Looking back, I think if there's one thing I would learn or take away from our last application, it is how persuasive and powerful the story of an impacted individual is. So the more that you can share that with the group, either in the written application, the site visit, at a final presentation, that is absolutely the most persuasive. You could go on and on with numbers, and that's, great to capture in your written report. But I think that the power of the story is absolutely critical. So think about who from your organization can really carry that story. Besides financial support, and it was mentioned before, there really are a lot of other benefits, even if you don't make it to the final round. And I think chief among them is that visibility. You've got the opportunity to engage with members throughout the application process. And then even as a grantee, you continue to have the opportunity to engage with members at some of their year-round events, and even things like this. So I'm always getting to see some familiar faces and then meet new people along the way. But I also just even like the cross promotion of events, the in-kind donations that they do at a particular mark. I could go on, but really it's not just about that financial gift, although that is critical and we can't operate without it. There's really so much more to it. So I want to pause. I hope I haven't gone too far over and be open for any questions. No, I don't know. Are we putting questions in the chat, or is there a moderator, or?
There is both. And I will just go on from here. If people do have questions for Jean, are you going to hang around?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so she'll be here and we're almost finished. We have a few slides left. So if you think of something specific, that would be great, or you could add it to the chat. And thank you so much, Jean. That was great. And I'm really happy you were able to join us today. Our challenge to the rest of you here on the call is to determine what you're going to do with $100,000. So consider what your community needs, determine your measurable outcomes, and of course, decide what makes good sense to your organization. We've given you a lot of information here, and we hope that will help you move forward in our grant process. We also realize, however, that a few days or a week from now, you may need help cultivating your grant idea. Or maybe you have questions specific to your project or about our application process that weren't addressed today. If that is the case, we are offering a one-time session of 15 to 30 minutes from now until November 15th with one of our very knowledgeable Impact 100 members. Both of these members, Jamie Malatesta and Ann Homestead, are well-versed in our organization and are former grant directors as well. They will be available to work with your nonprofit in two ways: explaining Impact 100's grant goals, guidelines, and application process, and exploring ideas an organization may already have for an Impact 100 grant proposal. If you would like to schedule a brief session with either Jamie or Ann, please email us at grants@impact100mke.org as seen on your screen. And we want to thank all of you for your participation today. If you have any questions, we will happily take them now. And so I see we have a question in the chat. What are the start and end dates of the grant period? So our LOI is available now and must be in by December 6th at noon. We internally form our grant committees in January, and we start reviewing your LOIs in January. I don't know if you can go back, Ann, to the slide with the dates on it, but that'll show you when after the first leg of this is the LOI, and then the full proposals we ask for around the beginning of March. Then we have site visits the end of March, beginning of April. And finalists will be notified sometime in the beginning of May. And we do vote on our finalists in June at our annual awards celebration. Oh, then that's a Jill question. When does the grant need to be spent? Is it 24 months from when they receive the money?
I will have to double check that one. I know it's written in our guidelines.
It's a great question. Unfortunately, we don't have that answer right now, but we will get it. Okay, and Jamie is saying it is 24 months once you receive the grant. And will that grant be received in June right away? I believe so.
That can depend a little bit on the organization, because there may be a need for some sort of documents before they can get the funding. So that is kind of different on a organization by organization basis.
Are there any other questions? Okay, well then we'll thank you once again for coming. Obviously, if you have anything you want to ask in the future, it's grants@impact100mke.org, and we're happy to get back to you.